بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا وعظيمنا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع نفوسنا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين وأصحابه الغر الميامين. الحمد لله الذي جعلنا من المتمسكين بولاية سيدي ومولاي علي بن أبي طالب. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. أما بعد، يقول الله في كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، لا إكراه في الدين. The first of our salawat in honor of Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. The second in honor of Ammar al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib. The third with your loudest voices in honor of the Imam of our time, Imam Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman. Respected scholars, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Can a non-Muslim live under the state led by the Mahdi? If a person is a non-Muslim, will they be able to keep their religion when the Mahdi establishes his state? Indeed, this is a central question which many non-Muslims ask. They may recognize the Mahdi as a man of justice. They may recognize the Mahdi as a man of mercy. But what if they decide to keep their religion after they've seen the Mahdi establish the state? If in according to Islamic terms the Mahdi will establish an Islamic state, what will be the position of the non-Muslim? Imagine someone, for example, as a scenario, is a Christian at that time, or someone who is a member of another faith at that time. Will they be allowed to maintain their faith until that point or not? Because we know very well that this remains a central question. That when the Imam returns and establishes the state, if a person does not accept Islam, is that person to be killed or not? You find here that there is a major clash that occurs when one looks at the Quranic worldview and one looks at the Hadith worldview. You see, amongst the most important clashes that occurs in law and in theology and in ethical discussion is whether the hadiths take precedence above Quran or Quran takes precedence above hadith. Do we view the world through the lens of the Quran or do we view the world through the lens of hadith? Some will say you should view the world through the lens of Quran, because at the end of the day, the Quran is the divinely inspired word, whereas the hadith is that which is narrated from fallables. Therefore, you find that the Quran centrists, they will formulate their understanding of the state of the Mahdi according to the ayahs of the Quran. They say if an ayah of the Quran is used as a principle, that is the principle that we will use when answering this question. That if a non-Muslim, can they live under the Mahdi by maintaining their religion, not by having changed? They will use Quranic principles to answer this question. You'll find the hadith centrists, what will they say? They'll say, wait, lots of hadiths are clear that when the Mahdi comes, he's gonna break all the crosses and he's gonna kill all the pigs and he's gonna behead everybody who doesn't accept La ilaha illallah. You know, we have many hadiths within Bihar al-Anwar of al-Majlisi, within the Ghaiba of al-Nu'mani, which clearly state that when the Mahdi appears, he will put the sword to your throat. And if you accept La ilaha illallah, then you will be allowed to live under the state. The hadith centrists will say, we want to use hadith ahead of Quran. In which way? They will say, well, if all these hadiths are there, the hadith takes precedence. And when the hadith takes precedence, they come forward and state that the hadith is telling us the Mahdi, if you want to live in his state, you can't be a Christian, you can't be Jewish, you can't be a non-Muslim. The whole earth will be Muslim. Which means what? Which means that you're saying it will be a utopia, as in the whole world will be Muslim. There will be no one except the Muslims. Because someone may turn around and say it's impossible to have a utopia. You can't have a whole earth that's only Muslims. That person will turn around and say, no, when a person is a non-Muslim and they meet the Imam, straight away the nur of the Imam will make them come towards Islam. Nur doesn't help me in academic discussion, yes? If nur helped me, if the light of the face of an Imam helped, it would have helped Abu Abdullah on the 10th of Muharram, yes? At the end with Imam al-Hussein, 72 out of the whole Islamic State turned up. Someone who turns around and says that everybody will become a Muslim, this is a central question. So are we saying that the 12th Imam, when he achieves his victory, what will happen is that the whole earth will become Muslim? That's next to impossible. Why? Firstly, we have clear traditions again, which are unanimous in stating that he will have peace treaties with non-Muslims, even while he rules. That the West will have a peace treaty with him. Now, what the West is in geography at that time, we will discuss another time. But we have clear hadiths. We have other hadiths that there's a possibility the Imam will get killed by someone within the whole Islamic State. Now, if the whole Islamic State is Muslim, are you saying that one of these Muslims will kill the Imam? What is then the definition? You find, therefore, this is a central question. That with this non-Muslim, can they live under the Mahdi or no? Let me give you two scenarios for us to understand. I have an Italian friend of mine who I grew up with in London. Christian Italian. Very nice person. His family are wonderful people. I've been to their house. I grew up with him at school. I grew up with him at college. We're still friends until today. When the Mahdi reappears, say for example in 3 weeks' time, Imam, let's say, makes an announcement, or let's say for the benefit of the narrations, on the 10th of Muharram an announcement is made, and now my Christian friend says to me, remember you were telling me about that Mahdi? I say yes. He says, this is the Mahdi you're talking about? I'm like, yes. If we then both go towards the Mahdi, my Christian friend sees him, acts with the same respect as he acts with my own father, yes? He shows him respect, he shows him morals, but he says, you know what, I don't think I want to become a Muslim. As in, I still want to maintain my Christianity. Someone will turn around and say, yes, but if he sees Jesus, Jesus will explain to him the real Islam. But what if my friend is adamant that he wants to maintain his Christianity? He doesn't want to leave Christianity, but nor is he going to be an enemy of the religion of Islam. What do I do then? Is it as simple as dividing the world into Dar al-Islam and Dar al-Kufr? Is it that simple? Because that's what ISIS is doing. ISIS at the moment, what do? They come to you with a sword, they ask you some questions. If you can't answer the questions, they behead you. If you don't answer the question properly, they'll kill you. Now, when my Christian friend, when the Mahdi reappears, my Christian friend, what do? Do I fight him? Will the Mahdi allow him to live amongst us? What is the opinion there? Let me give you another scenario. I have a friend of mine, he has become a follower of Ahl al-Bayt. His parents are Hindu. He has become Shia. His parents are Hindu. Now when the Mahdi reappears, my friend has come towards the path of the Mahdi. His parents, what happens to them? Because his parents, the open-mindedness and the respect they showed in bringing him up led him to being a Shia. His parents allowed him to mix with Muslim friends. His parents were the ones who said you shouldn't have the wrong information about Islam. Muslims are good human beings. When the Mahdi appears, can his parents still live as Hindus under the Mahdi or no? Because this is a central question. Many people ask before we even get to the discussion, when was the Mahdi born? How was he born? 15th of Sha'ban. Before we even get to that discussion, this is a central question. Because if the Christian thinks when the Mahdi comes, he will put a sword on the neck Or when the Hindu thinks when the Mahdi comes, he'll put a sword on the neck. Then in that moment, many will turn around and say, you know what? What's the difference then with your leader and ISIS? We say, but our leader is chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. ISIS says the same. They say we are khalifas. Allah made us khalifas. Yes? We say, but our leader will come with the books of God, will come with the miracles of God. They'll say, but still, we want to keep our religion. Is there any way in which a non-Muslim can live as a non-Muslim in the time of the Mahdi or no? It's a central question. Why? Because either we say that there is a possibility, or we become a religion of forced conversion. Yes? Many times the Holy Prophet is attacked as being a man who spread Islam by the sword. Do you agree? Many times people say the religion of Islam was spread by the sword. We defend by saying no, Rasulullah showed compassion to non-Muslims. Rasulullah had a soft heart for non-Muslims. Rasulullah allowed non-Muslims to live with him. How about if the grandson of Muhammad doesn't show any compassion? What does it say about Rasulullah? Yes? Because someone could easily turn around and say, hold on a minute, if you're telling me Rasulullah did not spread the religion by the sword, what if you're saying now in the books of hadith? And that's why the debate between the Quranic worldview and the hadith worldview is a fundamental debate. I remember in Iran, Ayatollah Sana'i uses this discussion of the Quranic versus the hadith when it comes to fiqh. Yes? That what are the general principles of the Quran versus the traditions in the world of hadith? Do we take a principle of the Quran over hadith? So for example, La ikraha fi din, there is no compulsion in religion. Hadith says no, we will kill. Which one takes precedence? Yes? Sana'i first used this with fiqh. That when you come to a fiqh ruling, if there is a verse of the Quran saying one thing, and a hadith saying another, do you have a worldview which is Quranic or a worldview which is hadith? Then they took that to where? To ethics. How? For example, there is a hadith that says, curse the enemies of Ahlul Bayt wherever they are. Yes? It says curse, not la'nat, sab. Yes? Do sab of the enemies of Ahlul Bayt wherever they are. That's a hadith. There's a verse from the Quran that says what? Verse from the Quran says, ادعو إلى سبيل ربك بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة وجادلهم بالتي هي أحسن. Verse of the Quran says, invite towards the way of Allah. With what? With wisdom and with good words. And talk to them in that which is better. In ethics, do we take the Quranic worldview or the Hadith worldview? Hadith worldview is saying what? Do sab of the enemies of Rasulullah and Ahlul Bayt. Quran is saying invite towards the way of Allah in a good way, with good words. Now that we've used Quran versus Hadith in law, in ethics, now we use it in history and theology. How? When we come to understanding the Mahdi's government, for many years the hadiths we've been given from Majlisi, from Nu'mani, from Tusi, from the others of the greats such as Kulaini, is that the Mahdi will come and he's going to kill whoever is not a Muslim. But I now look at my neighbor who's been good friends of mine. What if my neighbor sees the 12th Imam and says, listen, I love him, he's a good man, but I don't want to be a Muslim. What do I do then? Do I let him remain my neighbor in the Islamic world? Let's answer that question tonight, inshallah. And I'd like to answer that in the following stages. Number one, does Islam allow you to force your sons and daughters to be Muslim and accept usul al-din or no? And why did Islam say usul al-din, you need to use your own aql, not your parents make decisions for you? Number two, why did the ayah come down, there is no compulsion in religion? And which other ayahs highlighted that the Prophet did not want to build an environment where non-Muslims could not live? Number three, how important was the event of Mubahala in highlighting that non-Muslims could live under the Messiah of that time without being oppressed at all? Number four, how about these hadiths that say the crosses will be broken and the pigs will be killed? Is Imam really going to do that? And is it fair to break crosses of people on another religion? Number five, if the non-Muslim doesn't turn out to be a staunch enemy of the Imam, then who will his enemies be? And how does Imam al-Baqir tell Abu Hamza al-Thamali that what the 12th Imam will face is even worse than Rasulullah? Let me examine this in order that we understand this topic in depth. Can I force my son to be a Muslim? Or am I only allowed to bring them up as a Muslim? This central question is debated by many. Why? Because this central question is vital when understanding the whole vision of the religion of Islam. I believe in Tawheed. I believe in Nubuwah. I believe in Imamah. I believe in Adalah. I believe in Qiyamah. Yes? All our life we've been brought up that the Usul al-Din are 5. Tawheed, Nubuwah, Adalah, Qiyamah, Ma'ad. That's what we've been brought up. When we've been brought up learning all of this all our life, now I have a son and a daughter. Can I force them to believe in Tawheed, Adalat, Nubuwat, Imamah and Qiyamah? One school says, of course, if they don't, I'll kick them out of the house and never let them come back home. No. That's not the religion of Islam. And when it comes to Usul al-Din, Islam was very clear. You can't force your children to believe in Imamah. They have to come to an understanding of Imamah through Aql and through Naql. What do we mean? Aql, using the intellect to understand Tawheed, using the intellect to understand Nubuwah, using the intellect to understand Imamah. Likewise, Naql, using the Quran to understand Tawheed, using the Quran to understand Nubuwah, using the Quran to understand Imamah. Someone says, what do you mean? My son comes to me and says to me, Dad, Imamah, prove it to me. Say, no, astaghfirullah, what do you mean prove it to you? You have to follow Imamah. No. Prove it to me rationally that I have to follow an Imam after Rasulullah. Yes? Rationally. Because Rasulullah is Khatam al-Anbiya. Why don't I just follow Rasul and finish? Prove to me through Aql and Naql that I have to follow an Imam after Rasulullah. Aqliyan, how will I prove it? I will say to my son, the Holy Prophet only had 23 years to explain the Quran. Yes? There is no way in 23 years you can explain every precept of the Quran. You will protect the revelation, but after you there has to be Imams who protect the interpretation of the Quran. Yes? That is the aql that Rasulullah could no way have left the Quran for these people who 20 years earlier were worshipping idols. Yes? I'm not going to leave the Quran in their hands. I have to leave the Quran in the hands of someone I raised with my own hands. Someone I fed, I clothed. Someone who smelt revelation when Jibreel used to come. Aqliyan. Naqliyan, the Quran makes it clear. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, ati'u Allah wa ati'u Rasul wa ulil amr. Yes? Obey Allah, obey the Prophet, and obey the leaders from amongst you. Why did Islam say Usul al-Din cannot be forced on? Usul al-Din must be understood. Because someone who's forced to believe in Imamah, the moment you give him an argument against Imamah, his iman becomes shaky. True? If now someone is forced to believe in Imamah from a young age, Dad, why Imams? Astaghfirullah, don't ask. Dad, all I want to know is about the isma of the Imams. Don't ask, haram. That one on the internet one day, 8 o'clock in the evening, goes on a forum. If they give him an argument against Imamah, which he can't answer, his faith becomes shaky. Yes? The one who has engaged in dialogue, rational debate and discussion, when you question him on Imamah, he's got bullets to give back to you about Imamah. Yes? He'll answer you one after the other. Islam didn't want a religion which was a religion which had followers who were blind followers. Islam wanted a religion where the people done rational, discursive inquiry before they come to their conclusions. Furu' ad-Din, yes, you do taqleed of one of our maraja. Yes? In Furu' ad-Din, for example, Salah, Sawm, Hajj, if you finished Islamic law, you don't need to do taqleed, you're a mujtahid. If you haven't finished, then you need to do rationally follow someone who has studied these books. That's in Furu'. Usul, there is no taqleed. Usul, you go out yourself and learn the religion. Otherwise, if you do taqleed in usul al-din, what do we end up with? We end up with people who are weak in their iman, people whose knowledge is very basic. They only follow Ahl al-Bayt because of their dads and dads and dads. If his mother was called Fatima, he was Shia. But equally, if his mother was called Aisha, he'd be Sunni. And if his mother was called Mary, he'd be Christian. And if his mother was called Elizabeth, he'd be Jewish. And if his, yes, that person, if you threw him in the right family, when the bird threw the baby down, he would have just followed that family. Islam didn't want you just to say, I follow this religion because my mother and father. Islam wanted rational discourse and inquiry. And that's why Rasulullah, when he came, one thing he never wanted to do was force Islam down the throats of the people. Yes? Rasulullah didn't care about the quantity of Muslims. He wanted the quality of the Muslims. Yes? Do you know, when he first came to Arabia, there was no intention, I'm going to force Islam on you, even though he is the prophet of the time, the awaited Messiah, the man who people had been waiting for since Nabi Isa said, after me Ahmed will come. When he first came, he never shoved Islam down people's throats. No. He came, he gave the message, he done a dinner for his family, Da'watul Ashira. He invited them, come home. When they all came home, at that moment, they sat down with him. And when they sat down with him, he said to them, have I ever lied? No. Have I ever been untrustworthy? No. Then if I were to tell you that I am the prophet of God, would you believe me or not? Some believed in him, like Amir al-Mu'mineen. Others, like Abu Lahab, made fun of him. The Quran revealed the ayah. قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ لَا أَعْبُدُ مَا تَعْبُدُونَ وَلَا أَنْتُمْ عَابِدُونَ مَا أَعْبُدُ وَلَا أَنَا عَابِدٌ مَا عَبَدتُّمْ وَلَا أَنْتُمْ عَابِدُونَ مَا أَعْبُدُ لَكُمْ دِينُكُمْ وَلِيَ دِينِ. Oh disbelievers, you don't worship what I worship. I don't worship what you worship. You have your religion, I have mine. Then the Quran would repeat this in another verse saying what? فَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيُؤْمِنْ وَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيَكْفُرْ. Whoever wants to believe, let them believe. And whoever wants to disbelieve and reject, let them disbelieve and reject. And even when he got to Medina, now, say those verses, let's say they were in Mecca. When he got to Medina, you would think, now he is the head of the state. And I want you to compare this with 12th Imam, yes? He's the head of the state. Now this state should be all Muslims. There's Christians in Medina. There's Jews in Medina. What do? I've got many soldiers, yes? At the beginning a few hundred, a few days later 700, a few years later 5,000, a few years later 10,000. These soldiers of mine can kill anyone, yes? I can go to every Christian house now. I get their cross, smash it. If they're eating haram, hit them. And I say to them, I am al-Mahdi. My name is the Prophet. And if you don't believe in me, I will kill all of you. That's Rasulullah. When Rasulullah came, the first verse he made clear in Surah Al-Baqarah, because you know Surah Al-Baqarah was one of the first surahs to be revealed in Medina. Yes? La ikraha fi din. There is no compulsion in religion. Why? If I have come as a mercy to mankind, I'm not going to compel mankind to follow my way. If I am a rahmah, I'm not going to force you to follow my way. The Holy Prophet, when he came to Medina, he made it clear, there is absolutely no compulsion in religion. The Christians worship in their churches. The Jews worship in their synagogues. If any of them is affected or hurt by any of the Muslims, I will punish that Muslim who hurts the Christians and the Jews. Look at the outlook of Islam. The outlook wasn't that I have come and now Islam is going to destroy all of you. No. You want to worship in your churches, worship. You want to worship in your synagogues, worship. Someone says, okay, but then why did Rasulullah attack the Jews of Khaybar then? If Rasulullah had respect for other religions, why the Jews of Qaynuqa, or the Jews of Qurayza, or the Jews of Nadir, why were they all attacked by Rasulullah? He didn't attack them because they were Jews. He attacked them because they committed treason against the state. Yes? They had made an agreement with Rasulullah. The Muslims, the Christians, the Jews are all one ummah. They will support each other. They will not side with outside alliances behind the back of the government. When the Jews of Qurayza or the Jews of Nadir or the Jews of Qaynuqa went behind the back of Islam, only then did Rasulullah say, and not even he said, they wanted Sa'ad bin Mu'adh, for example, to be amongst those who made the agreement that they should be punished. You found therefore Rasulullah's outlook on the world was what? It wasn't an outlook that Christians and Jews have to be killed, because this is a problem. I read Majlis's Bihar, I read Nu'man's Ghaiba. The hadiths say he will make sure that unless they utter La ilaha illallah, he will behead. It's a problem. Okay, you keep these hadiths at home in our libraries. We keep them, let's say, in our hawza. We don't show them to the world. What do we tell our colleagues at work? We tell our colleagues at work, Islam is a religion of peace. True? How many of you have said that? Islam means peace. Which peace? As one comedian once said, they say to me, Islam is a religion of peace. A peace here, a peace there, a peace everywhere. Well, there's a problem. Because when I'm reading the hadiths, what do the hadiths tell me? Kill, kill, kill. When I'm reading Quran, what does Quran say? Quran says, La ikraha fi din. Quran says, فَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيُؤْمِنْ وَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيَكْفُرْ. Quran says, قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ لَا أَعْبُدُ مَا تَعْبُدُونَ. Quran says, إِنَّا هَدَيْنَاهُ السَّبِيلَ إِمَّا شَاكِرًا وَإِمَّا كَفُورًا. Now I see with the hadiths on the Imam, the hadiths. So now the Holy Prophet, what happened? When he conquered Mecca and when the Islamic State was established, what took place? What took place at that moment was that all the tribes around Arabia who were not Muslim had to come and see him. Please understand this delicate point. These tribes were living in the state. Now they had to come and see him. Some of them had never met him. All they knew was that 2 years before he died, yes, only 2 years before he died, he's 61 years old, they came now to meet him. When they came to meet him, the first of them that came were a group of Christians, yes? They were from Najran, Yemen. When they came, they knew that, listen, Muhammad is the head of the state. Can we still be Christians under him or no? Or are his companions, the Sahaba, going to put a sword and kill us? They came to the Holy Prophet. When they came to the mosque, the Holy Prophet wasn't there. Who was there? Abdul Rahman bin Auf and Uthman bin Affan. They came, they said, where is Rasulullah? Where is Muhammad? At that moment, the two of them said, we don't know. Go and ask him. Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib was sitting down. They came to the Imam. They asked him, where is Rasulullah? Where is Muhammad? At that moment, the Imam, what did he say? He said, he's not here at the moment. You want to see him? They said, yes, we are the Christians of Najran. We know the state is a Muslim state. Can we live under Islam or no? Or do we have to become Muslim? Imam said, the clothing you have come in is not the clothing of people of religion. Gold and diamond and jewelry. Come tomorrow with more humble clothes. Sit with the Prophet and we will explain. They came the next day. The Prophet was sitting down. They came. They said to him, Muhammad, we want to ask you some questions. He said, go ahead. They asked him a series of questions. Then they looked at him and they said to him, what is your opinion about Jesus? He said, we believe Jesus is a prophet of God. He said to them, what's your opinion about Jesus? They said, we believe he's the Son of God. He said, why? He said, because he had no father. Yes. And so he must be the Son of God. Quran replied, إِنَّ مَثَلَ عِيسَى عِنْدَ اللَّهِ كَمَثَلِ Adam. The example of Jesus in the eyes of God is the same as that of Adam. Adam had no father. Adam had no mother. So who should be the Son of God? Adam or Jesus? Yes? Did they accept? No. When they didn't accept, did Rasulullah say, excuse me, you Sahabi, let's give a name of a Sahabi. You Zayd, get a sword please. Capture all these Christians because they don't believe in me as the leader. Capture and kill them one by one. Okay, good, they're dead. Okay, let's go and have a barbecue somewhere please. He looked at them and he said, they said to him, listen, we're not convinced. Rasulullah is sitting in front of you. They're not convinced. The Holy Prophet said, are you willing to enter a mubahala with me? They said, what do you mean? He said, are you willing to bring your sons and I'll bring my sons? You bring your woman, I'll bring my woman. You bring your nafs, I'll bring my nafs. And we ask Allah to send His curse, His la'nat, let's say, on the ones who are disbelievers. They said, yes, we'll do that. They went back. The Sahaba heard the ayah, فَمَنْ حَاجَّكَ فِيهِ مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَكَ مِنَ الْعِلْمِ فَقُلْ تَعَالَوْا نَدْعُ أَبْنَاءَنَا وَأَبْنَاءَكُمْ ونساءنا ونساءكم وأنفسنا وأنفسكم ثم نبتهل فنجعل لعنة الله على الكاذبين. You bring your sons, Quran says, we'll bring our sons. This is an order. This is an order in Islam 1.5 years before Rasulullah dies. 100,000 Muslims are alive. Do you agree? Quran says, bring your sons, we'll bring our sons. You bring your woman, we'll bring our woman. You bring your nafs, yourself, we'll bring ourselves. Whoever Rasulullah takes with him have to be the most important people in the religion of Islam. You agree? There are many Sahaba alive. There are many women alive. There are many wives alive. Yes, all of them are alive. Quran is saying, you bring your sons, we'll bring our sons. You bring your woman, we'll bring our woman. You bring yourself, we'll bring ourselves. All the Sahaba that night were waiting. Who does Allah and His Prophet see as the most important people in representing the religion of Islam? Everyone's there. The great Sahaba of Rasulullah, all of them are there. And the great wives, Ummahat al-Mu'mineen, are all alive. Yes? So whoever Rasulullah takes with him, all has to be the best. They were all waiting the next day. The Christians had said something. If Muhammad brings his Sahaba, then we will go to the Mubahala. If he brings his family, then we won't. Because a man who's willing to sacrifice his family is a man of God. True? This is common sense. It's common sense. You don't need hadith and Quran. When a man takes his family, then that is the family of Allah on earth. Someone says, you can't say family of Allah. Allah doesn't choose family. And say, you're trying to kid me or what? Quran doesn't say, Inna Allah astafa Adam wa Nuh wa al Ibrahim. If you're saying Allah doesn't choose families, how comes He say al Ibrahim? Why don't you call Allah a monarchist? Say Allah only likes monarchy. Your Lord chose al Ibrahim, so He can't choose another al later on. Bring your sons. He brought Hassan and Hussein. At the time, how old were they? They were 5, 6 years old. Bring your woman. So many women alive. He only brought Fatima. Because all of those women who are alive don't come near the dust of Zahra. No way. Now the next point. Bring your nafs. Whoever he brings, has his nafs is equal to Rasulullah. Jalal al-Din al-Suyuti, Jalal al-Din al-Mahalli have a tafsir called Tafsir al-Jalalain. Famous tafsir of our brothers from Ahlul Sunnah. Yes? In there he says, as his sons, he took Hassan and Hussein. As his woman, he took Fatima. As his nafs, he took Ali ibn Abi Talib. Yes? Allahumma salli ala. This salawat is not loud enough. A second salawat in honor of Fatima al-Zahra. A third salawat in honor of Imam Hassan and Imam al-Hussein. Allah. What happened? He took them. When he went there, the Christians were there, they saw Salman, he prepared the tent. Because Salman is from Ahl al-Bayt. Fatima, Hassan, Hussein, Rasulullah, Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, the Christians looked and they said, we will not enter a mubahala with these five. Why? The amount of nur that shines from their faces. If it told a mountain to move, the mountain would move from its position. Yes? No doubt. What then happened was important. The Christians said, Muhammad, we don't believe you're a prophet. We don't want to enter a mubahala. You are on your way. What do we have to do to live under your state? Did Rasulullah say, I'm sorry, this is Islam, we have to kill all of you? No. He said, what you have to do, you have to pay a jizya because now you are a dhimmi. A dhimmi is a non-Muslim living in the Islamic land. They pay a tax. In the months of Rajab and Ramadan, Shahr Ramadan, they would give from their clothing to the poor. That's the tax. Today in Uganda, if I live in Uganda, or I live anywhere in the world, if I live in the country, there's some taxes I pay. Doesn't mean they change my religion, but out of respect for the country. Rasulullah set a principle there, that although Islam is my religion, those Christians can still worship in their churches. I will not be unjust to them. And now that they pay the jizya, listen to the condition. Now they pay the jizya, every Muslim has to defend them from outside forces. Every Muslim has to defend them from outside forces. But Ya Rasulullah, Christianity is not your religion, it's Islam. My religion is called humanity. Yes? That's my religion. Islam, I wish they knew what I'm offering them. But if they don't, and they love Nabi Isa, they love Nabi Musa, they love Nabi Dawood, they love Nabi Ibrahim, then let them follow those prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That principle therefore was set. And that's why when they asked Imam al-Sadiq, salawatullah wa salamu alayhi, Abu Basir asks Imam al-Sadiq, and this is narrated in Nu'man's Ghaiba and narrated in Majlisi. Now someone says, hold on. Let's see, is there a contradiction in the hadith or no? Abu Basir asks Imam al-Sadiq, Imam, when al-Qa'im rises, yes, when the Hujjah rises, will he live in Sahla until the end of his life? Masjid al-Sahla in Kufa, yes? The Imam replies by saying, yes, until the end of his life. He said, what is the position of non-Muslims in his government? He said, like Rasulullah, they will be dhimmis, they will pay a certain tax towards the state. Yes? Someone says, but how comes we have a contradiction in the hadiths? One hadith is saying the non-Muslim will be killed. The other is saying they can live as dhimmis in the state. Well, if someone is not a Muslim or a Muslim and they are causing trouble to the future of justice, then they are going to be fought. Yes? Not the future of Islam. Future of justice. Because a Muslim can be as much trouble to the future of justice as a non-Muslim. True? So therefore, those hadiths which say that the Mahdi will... Yes. If now there are Muslims and non-Muslims who are opposition to the future of justice. Ali ibn Abi Talib in Nahrawan, he was fighting this person. Dhul Fiqar trapped the person's sword. He had both swords. The person looked at him, he said, they say Ali ibn Abi Talib does not reject when someone asks him something. So Imam said, yes. He said, give me my sword back. Imam said, here. Which man gives the sword of his enemy back? At that moment the man says, I want to join Ali's army. He said, no, join the army of justice. Not Ali. Join the army of justice. Imam al-Sadiq tells Abu Basir, those non-Muslims can live under Imam al-Hujjah. Yes. Maybe they'll become Muslim when they see Nabi Isa with Imam al-Hujjah. Maybe Nabi Isa will explain. Maybe not. Maybe not. But the reality was what? Ahl al-Bayt will not massacre you just because you have not joined them. You're the one losing out on not joining Al-Muhammad, not them. As we say, Ali ibn Abi Talib is like the Kaaba. You go to it, it doesn't come to you. Imam al-Hujjah is like the Kaaba. You go to Imam al-Hujjah, he doesn't come to you. You want to benefit from the spirituality of Imam al-Hujjah, take him on. You don't want to, and yet you can be a good human being, then you are welcome within the state. Therefore you found that the principle was set, that Al-Muhammadan made it clear. Under the Mahdi, Imam al-Sadiq, someone says, well, what about the hadith that says they'll break the crosses and they'll kill the pigs? If the crosses, Nabi Isa has come, and he has said that I did not die on the cross, for example, and I did not tell you to eat pork. That person who purposely puts out a cross and purposely wants to spread the cell to hurt Nabi Isa and to hurt Imam al-Hujjah and to hurt the laws of the state. Yes, every state has laws. Every state has laws. And now in Uganda there are laws I have to observe. I can't just turn around and say, I don't want to observe these laws. If I'm purposely doing things to hurt the state, that's a different story, yes? But if I'm a person who's living humbly in the state, like the Christians of Najran of Yemen, they lived as good humans in the state. Rasulullah didn't say kill them. He said let them continue. They used to have a church called Ka'bat Najran. He let them continue worshipping in the church, even though he was the Messiah of God. Likewise, his grandson. Question. So if his grandson is going to allow non-Muslims, say, to live in the state, does that mean the non-Muslim's heart is black, that he doesn't accept the Hujjah? No. Sometimes Allah will guide you in that moment. Maybe He'll guide you a year later. Maybe 10 years later. Maybe your children will be guided. The main thing is that you're a person living in tolerance and respect of the laws of the state. Therefore, who then will be the enemies of the Mahdi? If the non-Muslim is allowed to live as a dhimmi within the Islamic state, then the question arises, who's going to be the enemy? You find, subhanallah, subhanallah, Abu Hamza Thamali, the famous narrator of the dua Abu Hamza we recite, he says, fifth Imam said to me, that the Mahdi will find more problems with his people than Rasulullah. The non-Muslim, no. His own. He said, how? He said, Rasulullah dealt with people who worshipped stone, wood. The Mahdi's enemies will be those who believe in Quran and debate his opinion on Quran. Hold on. Are you telling me that there will come a point where some of Mahdi's own people will question his ilm on Quran? May Allah never show us that day, that we come to question the Imam of our time. There is a hadith which says what? When he comes to Kufa, 16,000 of the Batriya. The Batriya are a sub-sect of the Zaydi Shia. Yes? The Batriya are those who may not necessarily have opposition to the first three Khulafa. In contrast to the Jarudiyya, the Batriya, 16,000 of them will debate him on the Quran. People with beards, marks of sujood in Kufa. They'll debate him and they'll say to him, go back to where you came from, O descendant of Fatima. In Kashi's Rijal and in Ithbat al-Huda, you find a hadith which even says amongst his enemies will be his own Shia. We always imagine the non-Muslim friend of ours may give trouble to 12th. It may be us who become the most difficult to him. For Abu Hamza Thamali, Imam al-Baqir said that Rasulullah didn't face as much trouble with his people as the 12th with his own people. And that's therefore why you see that, subhanallah, from the very beginning of Islam, the people who caused the most trouble to Islam weren't non-Muslims, it was Muslims. Rasulullah died, it was Muslims who attacked the house of Fatima. Yes, wasn't it? People who claimed La ilaha illallah, they claimed they believe in Muhammad Rasulullah, they attacked. Wasn't it not Muslims who supposedly, because of their religiosity, struck Ali ibn Abi Talib on the night of the 19th in Kufa? Ibn Muljam was from the Khawarij. They said, we are the true Muslim Ali and Muawiyah, no, we are the true Muslims, and they struck Imam. Wasn't it not a Muslim lady, daughter of al-Ash'ath bin Qais, sister of Muhammad ibn al-Ash'ath, Ju'da, daughter of al-Ash'ath bin Qais? Wasn't it a Muslim lady who poisoned Imam al-Hasan? And wasn't it people in their namaz who used to praise Muhammad in the tashahhud? Weren't they the same ones who killed Muhammad's grandson? On the 9th year after Hijrah, Rasulullah took Hassan, Hussein, took Fatima, took Ali, and he took them, and they represented the religion of Islam. Ya Rasulullah, you asked us to look after them one by one, yes? You said to us, look after Fatima, look after Ali, look after Hassan, and look after Hussein. In the 9th year of Hijrah, they represented the religion. Only 50 years later, the last of them lay on the ground in Karbala alone. Yes? 9th year after Hijrah, they represented Islam against the non-Muslims who were asking. 50 years later, his grandson lies on the ground in Karbala. Who killed him? Non-Muslims? No. The ones who said Muhammad, Rasulullah, killed the very son of Muhammad. Not just killed him, beheaded him. Not just beheaded him, trampled on him. Not just trampled on him, slapped him. Every act imaginable they took out on Rasulullah. Do you know what one poet says? Which body, listen to this. One of the poets says, which martyr did the sun burn his body? And from his nur, the sun was created. Yes? Which martyr did the sun burn his body? And from his nur, the sun was created. Which martyr did the horses trample on his body? And those same horses used to trample when they heard his name. If only those horses knew it was Muhammad's body they were trampling on, not Hussein. Yes? Because when they trampled on Hussein, it wasn't Hussein, it's the flesh of Muhammad they're trampling on. Yes? And that was something no one would forget from the Imams, especially Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam. Yes? Years after Karbala, Imam Zayn al-Abidin was passing away, the poison had surrounded his body. Imam al-Baqir narrates, he says, when the poison surrounded the body of my father Zayn al-Abidin, he said, I laid him on the mattress, and then when I laid him, I hugged my father. Yes? When your father's dying, you try and hug your father. Those of you who've seen your father die, those moments are difficult when you see your father die, yes? Imam al-Baqir says, Imam Zayn al-Abidin, I hugged him because I could see the poison had surrounded Zayn al-Abidin. So he says, as soon as I hugged him, I saw my father cry in a way I've never seen him cry before. But we know Imam Zayn al-Abidin, many times he cried. But why cry so much now? He looked at him and he said to him, Father, why do you cry when I hug you right now? At that moment he looked at the Imam, he said to him, Father, why do you cry when I hug you now? In a moment you'll see Rasulullah. In a moment you'll see Fatima al-Zahra. Yes? In a moment you'll see Ali ibn Abi Talib. In a moment you'll see Imam al-Hasan. In a moment you'll see Imam al-Hussein. Oh Father Zayn al-Abidin, why do you cry when I hug you? Listen to the reply. He said to him, oh my son Muhammad, I cry because when I am dying, you are on my chest. Whereas do you know who sat on the chest of my father Abu Abdullah? I had to see shimmer on the chest of my father, and I wasn't able to go and support my father. Listen to the next line. I beg all of you, listen to to this line. Imam al-Baqir says, I washed the body of my father, Zayn al-Abidin. Allahu Akbar. He said, when I washed the body of my father, I saw 2 marks on the body of my father. Which marks? He said, the first mark I saw was on the back of my father. Yes. He said, I knew that mark. That mark was the mark of the food he used to carry to the poor in the middle of the night. But he said the second mark I couldn't believe was still there. There was a mark on the neck of my father. I couldn't believe that since Sham, the mark 34 years after Sham of the chains of Yazid was still on the neck of Zayn al-Abidin. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to raise us with the Imam of our time, Imam Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman. اللهم إنا نرغب إليك في دولة كريمة تعز بها الإسلام وأهله وتذل بها النفاق وأهله وتجعلنا فيها من الدعاة إلى طاعتك والقادة إلى سبيلك وترزقنا بها كرامة الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم ما عرفتنا من الحق فحملناه وما قصرنا عنه فبلغناه. Ya Allah, hasten the reappearance of Imam Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman. Ya Allah, hasten the reappearance of Khalifat al-Rahman, Sharik al-Quran, Ka'bat al-Iman, Imami wa Imam al-Insi wal-Jan. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to restore peace in the Ummah of Muhammad and al-Muhammad. Ya Allah, remove the oppression that exists in all the lands, but especially the land of Iraq. Ya Allah, help all our brothers and sisters in the land of Iraq. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the Surah al-Fatiha, but before it the loudest of your salawat.